Solidarity, comrades. Today is a special video. Today we are going to be talking about the Saur revolution in Afghanistan and why that revolution and the subsequent events are so very relevant in the 21st century, especially with ongoing struggles for socialism in many different forms, and the imperialist meddling within those circles. First, I want to recommend some channels that everyone watch. I think that everyone should really go check out the Red Lettuce podcast. I had an interview with them. I hope everyone checked it out. It's very good. They're amazing comrades. Everyone should check out Red Comrades in China. Still a lot of great content being ready to be released there. Everyone should go watch Ewoks Unhinged. Hopefully I'll be appearing on that comrade show very soon. And I also want to promote The Obnoxious Anarchist, because he's a very principled comrade who understands socialism, historical materialism, anti-imperialism, and has a good grasp on Marxism and what, exactly violence, the state, and class societies are. And this is the type of anarchist that I have spent most of my time with in real life. You see all these rad libs that pose as anarchists that spend most of their time harping on about how every existing socialist experiment is wrong and how they have all the best ideas. But these people are out in the streets and doing work. It's really great stuff. And that's the same amongst all tendencies. The people who are out there trying to help the masses and are actively trying to do this are usually the people that are most in tune with, other sections of class struggle that aren't based locally, that are more international. So check out those channels. They're very good. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe. I would love for more people to come here, and the more people that come here, the more I'm able to motivate myself to put out more content. So I thank everyone who's here and watching and who has subscribed and left insightful comments and have even criticized my content, like the Falcon General. She is a young communist who everyone should subscribe to the Falcon General. She is a young Maoist, and I know many of you know how I feel about Maoism, but I feel she's younger, a student trying to organize amongst the youth in her community, and also amongst other youth around her age. And I think that anyone who is pushing, who is introducing communism to people there of that age and all around, and they're beginning their own communist journey themselves and learning more every day, I think is a very good thing. And that no one should send hate to the Falcon General. If anything, send love to her. She really, really does care about the people and the masses, which is a type of thing I can get behind. So, on to the topic for today. The Saur Revolution. It was a revolution that took place in Afghanistan in 1970. It's been 43 years, so that would... Let me do my math real quick. I think that would be 1978. And Saur is a term named after the time of the year in the calendar in, I believe, Pashtun. And it was actually a military coup amongst people of the Marxist-Leninist party called the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan. And of course, it had broad support amongst the people, which is why it chose to do a military coup. But it's similar to the type of situation in Burkina Faso or Gaddafi in Libya, or Sankara in Burkina Faso, Gaddafi in Libya, Nasser in Egypt. It was the anti-imperialist and socialist and Marxist and communist forces that overthrew a Western-backed Shah, not too dissimilar to what was happening in Iran around the same time, and it was a Marxist-Leninist thing. It was aligned geopolitically with the Soviets, and so that immediately caused issues geopolitically with the American allies in the region, and of course China, which at the time was under the Gang of Four foreign policy, which is the three worlds theory, which they saw the social imperialism of the USSR and its aligned states to be a more primary danger to socialism and communism than Western capitalism and imperialism. So what happened was, it was the first time in Afghan history that, women were liberated and the people had a voice for themselves. And it was the first time that Afghan people were truly sovereign since pre-colonial times, when the borders for Afghanistan were drawn up, and the Afghanistan as an idea came into being. These people have been under the purview of colonialism and later imperialism and neocolonialism. And it was only until the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan took power in the Saur Revolution that they were truly independent of Western capital. Unfortunately, because of its, well, as we all know, Afghanistan is highly geopolitically important. It has tons and tons of natural resources and metals, like tungsten, for example, which is very important for weapons manufacturing. And so this place was, and it's at the crossroads of the world. It's next to, it borders Pakistan. It's near India. It was right next to the Soviet Union. It was right next to China. It was right next to Iran. It was just to the south is the Persian Gulf. It's such an important geopolitical place, and it's still important to this day. So the West, of course, as everyone knows, started funding Islamic fundamentalists and bringing in these foreign Wahhabists into Afghanistan and radicalizing dissatisfied people in the population, because the country was struggling. It was, the reason they took power in a coup was because, they were trying to save their country from poverty and poor. And, a lot of the rural farmers and more traditional and religious people outside of the metropolitan areas, like Kabul and Helmand province, they were it's my dogs. They were they were alienated by this sort of metropolitan idea coming from mostly Pashtun ethnic peoples. And so they rallied around this cause, and so you had you had like people in the Northern Alliance later on who were based around more of ethnic lines, like the Uzbeks in the north, fighting against Pashtun dominance. And then you have the Mujahideen, which were based around, Wahhabist ideas and the evil, godless communists coming in. And that's who the United States funded with the weapons and all those weapons. And even at the end of Rambo, I think it's Rambo 3. They said this is dedicated to the brave freedom fighters of the Mujahideen or something like that. And also, I just can't not mention this, but Maoists were also aligned with the Mujahideen due to the three worlds theory policy of China at that time under the Gang of Four. So they were also fighting the communists. The Maoists were fighting the communists that were in power because they were social imperialists. So as we know, this all ended with the long war where the Afghans called in the Soviets and to help them, and they used the classic People's War style, the guerrilla warfare to wear down the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union also dealing with its own, especially towards the end of the war, dealing with its own internal party wreckers and people wanting to dismantle the state. So they had to pull out, and once that support was lost, it was just a matter of months before the Mujahideen took over about, 90% of the country. Except for in the north, where there were still the Northern Alliance and the people aligned around more ethnic lines. And so, that brings you to the 90s, when the Taliban when the Mujahideen turned into the Taliban, formed into a more solidified political group and ruled the country. And as we know, the United States came in 2001 and are only claiming to be pulling out here today in 2021. The 20-year sinking of, trillions of dollars and deaths of countless people. And the country is still war-ravaged. It's not at peace to this day. And you can see how relevant this is today, not only in the fact that, Afghanistan is still reeling from the defeat of the Saur Revolution, but also how the United States uses these same Cold War tactics against countries that aren't geopolitically aligned with them, like China or Russia. And China specifically, they're doing the same thing. They're calling these Islamic fundamentalist terrorists in Xinjiang freedom fighters. And they're trying to get international condemnation. It's the same pattern over and over. China isn't going to fall for this, of course. They're not. There really is no large support for these Islamists. Most of them have been de-radicalized. But, you can see it's this same sort of narrative that's being used in countries that challenge the hegemony of the United States. Not even anti-imperialist countries necessarily, but countries that challenge American hegemony. And it's just interesting to see how, on this 43rd anniversary of the Saur Revolution that started with so much hope and has ended with so much disaster that's still happening to this day, we can see why, regardless if you think that countries like China are socialist or not, you cannot be promoting these imperialist narratives about them. When you do that, you are doing the work of the empire. You're leading to secessionist ideas that every time in history have led to war and bloodshed and death and has never worked out better for anyone. And I can tell you, any stringent Maoist that doesn't think China is socialist can look at the fall of the USSR and say with confidence that even though they don't believe in what the USSR was doing, things were better before the imperialist balkanization and destruction of these places, the same in Yugoslavia and stuff. So as communists, regardless of our tendencies, we have to oppose the empire at every turn. It's just, as Maoists would say, it's the primary contradiction of imperialism that we must combat. Only then can we truly advance and talk about constructing socialism on a truly global scale. And I think it's important. So that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to remind people about the Saur Revolution and what can happen when imperialist meddling succeeds. And it's good to remember these times, and I hope everyone can learn from these mistakes from the past of the 20th century socialist experiments. I hope we can all learn and grow. Anyway, comrades, thank you. Please like and subscribe if you like it. Comment down below, and solidarity. Have a good one.